Do you think? The Sahara is just a sea of sand with yellow sand flying everywhere. Under the scorching sun. Walk a few tired camels. Besides that, there is only endless desolation and silence. But I want to tell you, this is just the most deeply ingrained lie in geography. Beneath billions of tons of scorching yellow sand lies far more than cold rock. Here lie the traces of giant ancient rivers. The ruins of unknown empires lie dormant. There are even scattered bones of prehistoric behemoths that dominated the earth older than dinosaurs. The Sahara has never been a dead and silent desert. It's more like a giant geological safe. And humans have only just touched the password to unlock it. The area of this desert is astonishingly vast. 9 million square kilometers of territory. If spread on a map of the United States, it could almost completely cover the entire mainland United States. The most amazing thing is, the yellow sand is like silent time. Naturally good at hiding the truth of the world. Countless people have mysteriously disappeared here over the centuries, all in pursuit of the legendary Golden City filled with treasures and the mysterious oasis that grants eternal life. But archaeological excavations in the 21st century have revealed truths more bizarre than any myth. Today let us delve deep underground together to uncover the secrets sealed by the yellow sand for 5,000 years. From suspected ancient space bases to ancient oceans that once boiled instantly. Get ready for our first discovery. It can be clearly seen even from outer space. In 1965, the American Gemini spacecraft flew over Africa, carrying out surface observation and photography missions. As the astronauts looked through the window into the depths of Mauritania, they were instantly so shocked by the sight that they held their breath. In the center of a dead and flat plateau, a giant eye was quietly gazing at the vast space. This is by no means a natural creation. Perfect concentric circles nested layer by layer, with a structure resembling a bullseye with a diameter of up to 40 kilometers. Whether viewed from an airplane or observed from the ground, its magnificent scale cannot be perceived. For thousands of years humans have walked on these rings, mistaking them for strangely shaped hills. But looking from space, it suddenly dawned on them. These are not mountains at all. They are too regular. So regular that they could never be the result of natural evolution. Instead, they are more like ruins meticulously constructed by humans, once the photos were made public. And the most chilling thing is, this conjecture actually has astonishing plausibility. Open the works of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. He was the first to describe Atlantis. This capital city was surrounded by 3 rings of water and 2 rings of land. Mountains stood to the north of the city, and a vast plain to the south. The rechat structure photographed by satellite, which is this eye of the Sahara, perfectly matches this description. Even the size of the ancient city recorded by Plato, when converted to modern kilometers, is almost exactly the same as the diameter of this eye. Speculation on the internet intensified. Some said it was a crater left by an ancient nuclear explosion. Some claimed it was a landing pad for alien spacecraft, petrified by the ravages of time. Human history seemed to be on the verge of being completely rewritten. But scientists who rushed to the site with geological hammers and observation instruments quickly extinguished everyone's fantasies. Although the truth shattered the romantic myth, it shocked the entire scientific community. The Eye of the Sahara is actually a geological dome. Imagine millions of years ago. A giant magma bubble rose from the depths of the earth, slowly pushing up the rock layers on the surface, like a huge bulge that had not yet burst, but never managed to break through the earth's crust to form a volcano. Magma gradually cooled and solidified underground then. Wind and water began a journey of sculpting for hundreds of millions of years. Erosion stripped away the surface of the dome layer by layer. Rocks of different hardness weathered at different speeds. Hard rock layers remained, forming raised ridges. Softer parts were eroded into depressions by the wind, ultimately creating these perfect concentric circles. It is not a capital built by gods, but a cross-section of the Earth's crust. A geological history book spread between heaven and earth. But even knowing the truth, standing in the center of this structure, you will still feel awe. You will truly understand that nature is the most wild and skilled architect. If the Eye of the Sahara is just a stunning geological wonder, then the next discovery is enough to make scientists doubt whether they are in a desert or an ancient seabed. We travel east together to reach Egypt. 150 kilometers south of Cairo lies a land like a post-apocalyptic movie set, Wadi al-Hidden. People are more accustomed to calling it the Valley of the Whales. The yellow sand underfoot is scorching. Blackened rocks stand around. The wind sweeps across the Gobi, making a mournful howl. Even in the shade, the temperature is close to 45. And here, It's hard to find even a sliver of shade. You trip over a protruding smooth stone. Bending down and clearing away the surrounding sand, you discover this is not a stone at all, but a backbone as thick as a giant tree. Continue digging down, and a giant skull full of sharp teeth slowly emerges. This is not a dinosaur's remains, but a whale's skeleton. And there is more than one such skeleton. Climb the sand dune and look down. Hundreds and thousands of giant skeletons lie scattered in the middle of the world's driest and harshest desert. This scene is like a surreal painting by Dali. Creatures that should have swum in the ocean lie buried in the vast yellow sand. In the 19th century, when European explorers first discovered these bones, they were completely perplexed. How could there be whales deep in the Sahara? The local Bedouin have avoided this place for thousands of years, believing it to be cursed. Legend has it that these skeletons are spirits and monsters, turned to stone by the gods for their grave sins. Religious fanatics even declared this as irrefutable proof of the Great Flood. The sea once submerged all of Africa. Whales swam into the desert with the currents. After the flood receded, they were trapped here and eventually died of thirst and hunger. This explanation, though seemingly plausible, was completely overturned by a crucial detail. When scientists cleaned the skeletons, they were stunned by what they saw. These whales had legs. What was found here were not modern whales, but Basilosaurus, a prehistoric marine predator from 40 million years ago, reaching up to 18 meters in length, equivalent to the height of a 6-story building. It had a long eel-like body and a mouth full of sharp teeth capable of crushing hard bones. Its stomach even contained the remains of large sharks, making it the absolute apex predator of the marine food chain at the time. And the most crucial clue was hidden in their hind limbs. A pair of short but fully formed legs, with joints, ankles, and complete toes. These legs were too fragile to support their bodies on land, but they provided irrefutable evidence that the ancestors of whales were once 4-legged land animals that gradually returned to the ocean. This discovery successfully filled a critical gap in the history of Earth's life evolution. But why did they perish in the desert? The answer is hidden in the movement of the Earth's plates. 40 million years ago, the Earth was vastly different from today. North Africa was not yet the familiar place we know. This was once the vast Tethys Sea, a warm, humid, shallow tropical paradise. Mangroves were abundant. All sorts of creatures thrived here, full of life. It was like a resort for prehistoric creatures. Giant sea snakes, ancestors of manatees, and various crocodiles swam through the water. Basilosaurus would also come here to breed and spend their later years. Just as whales today migrate to warm bays, later the Earth's climate underwent drastic changes. The African plate moved north, colliding and compressing with the European plate. The seabed of the ancient sea gradually rose. The seawater slowly receded. The remaining marshlands gradually dried up, eventually evolving into the desert of today. And the yellow sand became a more perfect time capsule than any museum, preserving this history forever. Today, as we walk at the foot of Whale Valley, what we step on is the seabed of ancient times. What the soles of our shoes crush are not ordinary stones, but shells, corals, and mangrove fossils preserved for millions of years. This place constantly reminds humanity that there are no eternal landscapes on Earth. The land scorched by the scorching sun at this moment was once a vast ocean rippling with blue waves billions of years ago. And today's vast oceans may also turn into barren deserts billions of years from now. If marine relics are too ancient and distant, then the next secret of the Sahara is within reach. It tells us that humans lived on this land not long ago. Their way of life was far beyond our imagination. Deep into the desert hinterland, we arrive at the Tassili en Odger Plateau in Algeria. This place is called the Stone Forest. To reach this land is itself a difficult feat. Thousands of rocks, deep canyons, and wind-eroded sandstone form a giant maze. The rocks are sculpted by the wind into bizarre shapes. Some resemble towering towers. Some resemble open mushrooms, fantastical like an alien surface. In 1933, French Army Lieutenant Brennan, riding a camel, patrolled this desolate area. To escape the scorching midday sun, he took shelter in a canyon. The moment he looked up, he was so stunned by the sight before him that he couldn't speak. The canyon walls were covered with thousands of murals. These were by no means crude doodles of primitive humans, but giant, colorful, and exquisitely detailed works of art, depicting a vibrant world vastly different from the Sahara of today. The murals show ancestors with dark skin and robust physiques, herding herds of spotted cattle, hunters with bows and arrows, chasing antelopes and giraffes, and animals like elephants, rhinoceroses, ostriches, and hippos which cannot live without fresh water, depicted with anatomical precision, indicating that the artists must have been in close contact with these animals daily, seeing them with their own eyes and painting them with their own hands. But the most astonishing thing is the depiction of boats in the murals, giant reed boats laden with people, sailing on land where there is now no water for hundreds of kilometers, only yellow sand and scorpions. This discovery shocked the entire scientific community. Why did ancient humans paint such a scene of water towns and rice paddies in the heart of the desert? Skeptics scoffed, claiming that these murals were merely hallucinations caused by ancestors mistakenly eating hallucinogenic mushrooms, or by heat stroke. But by the 1950s, when an expedition led by André Lhote arrived here, they discovered even more bizarre scenes. Interspersed with scenes of hunting and fishing was a group of figures that look nothing like humans. Lhote called them round-headed people, wearing strange clothing resembling modern spacesuits. Their heads were round with no discernible facial features. Some even had protrusions resembling antennas. Suspended in mid-air, people on the ground extended their hands towards them, as if in worship. One mural titled "The Great God Sifil" is both bizarre and strikingly modern. It remains a core piece of evidence for the ancient astronaut theory. Proponents boldly claim these are astronauts. Ancient humans encountered extraterrestrial visitors, who imparted knowledge to them, and quietly departed when the climate worsened. Rumors spread wider and wider online. Some say Tassili and Auger was an ancient space base, and the murals are a chronicle of alien visits. Others claim this is a portal connecting parallel worlds. But the truth revealed by climatologists and paleobotanists is more thrilling than any UFO sci-fi story. They drilled into the dry lake beds, extracting pollen samples from ancient times. After meticulous analysis, they concluded the Sahara was never an eternal desert. It was more like Earth's climate pendulum, constantly cycling through change. Earth's rotational axis is not perfectly vertical, but like a slowly decelerating spinning top, slightly wobbling. This process is called precession. Every approximately 20,000 years, the tilt of the Earth's axis changes, causing the tropical rainbelt to shift northward, nourishing this land. The most recent Green Sahara period, on a geological scale, was very recent, between 5,000 and 10,000 years ago. At that time, the Sahara was a vast savanna comparable to present-day Tanzania. Rivers several kilometers wide flowed, intertwining into a dense water network. The center of the desert was the giant Lake Chad. Its area far exceeded that of the Caspian Sea. It was the largest freshwater lake in the African interior. Humans lived a prosperous and peaceful life here, without fighting for resources. Food was abundant and inexhaustible. They created a unique and brilliant civilization, painting, dancing, boating on the water, enjoying the bounty of this land to the fullest, completely unaware that doom was imminent. About 5,000 years ago, the climate pendulum swung back. The change was alarmingly rapid. Within just a few centuries, rainfall completely ceased. The rushing rivers shrank and dried up. The fertile grasslands turned into dust-filled skies. The vast lakes evaporated completely, leaving behind only vast salt flats. The former Eden became a living hell. The later murals of Tassili and Auger are filled with despair. Animal figures gradually disappeared. The artwork became simpler and cruder. Patterns of weapons and warfare began to appear frequently. Humans, for the last remaining water sources, fought and killed each other. The survivors fled eastward, towards the only river that did not dry up, the Nile. Historians believe it was these climate refugees who emerged from the dying Sahara, who gave rise to the glorious ancient Egyptian civilization. Pyramids, Sphinx, Pharaoh dynasties are essentially human attempts to commemorate that lost Eden swallowed by the sands, leaving behind eternal imprints. And the most amazing thing is that this cycle has never ended. Computer models show that in about 15,000 years, the Earth's axis will tilt again. The tropical rainbelt will return to the Sahara. This desert will once again be lush and vibrant. The vast yellow sand will once again turn into a vibrant garden. So if you want to buy property here, you might as well wait a little longer, as some people fled to the Nile River, seeking life. Another group chose to stay in the Sahara, bravely declaring war on the encroaching yellow sand. The civilization they built lay hidden beneath the yellow sand for thousands of years, until humans learned to observe through the surface. It was revealed to the world. For a long time, historians always believed that the heart of the Sahara never gave birth to a large state. Only nomadic Bedouin and caravans traveling between oases struggled to survive here. But satellite images from 2011 revealed a shocking truth. Beneath the yellow sand in southern Libya, clear circular outlines, square buildings, straight lines and foundation ruins quietly emerged. This is the Garamond Empire. A civilization with over 100 fortified villages, castles and fortresses. A lost empire unknown to humanity. The Romans called them barbaric tribes. But in reality, the Garamonds created technological miracles in the desert. In desperate circumstances, they built prosperous oases, with their own writing, mature metallurgy and powerful cavalry legions. The city streets were neatly planned. And all of this happened during the era when Europe was shrouded in darkness. The most perplexing question for archaeologists is, where did their water source come from? There are no rivers and no rainfall here. The nearest water source is thousands of miles away. Could it really be divine intervention? The answer lies deep underground. The Garamonds did not pray for rain. Instead, they picked up their tools and marched into the hard earth, carving out life with their own hands. They built a vast underground canal system, known as the Fogaras. Thousands of kilometers of underground tunnels, all painstakingly chiseled out of hard rock by human labor. Without laser assistance or drills, laborers worked in dark, stuffy tunnels, constantly facing the danger of collapse. But with tenacious perseverance, they carved out one tunnel after another, reaching the aquifers beneath the hills, allowing groundwater to flow into the valleys. This magnificent hydraulic engineering project is comparable to the subway network of a modern metropolis. Groundwater flowed silently deep underground, only to be brought to the surface where it was needed to irrigate farmland. With this water system, they successfully grew wheat, grapes, figs, and dates, in a barren land where even camel thorns cannot survive today, nourishing generation after generation of Garamonds. But the technology that once brought them life ultimately became their curse. What they consumed was fossil water sealed for millions of years, a non-renewable groundwater source. As the empire expanded and the population grew, the demand for water increased dramatically. The groundwater level continued to drop. Tunnels had to be dug deeper, longer, and more dangerous. Eventually, this complex water system became difficult to maintain. The water source completely dried up. Prosperous cities were gradually abandoned. The yellow sand returned, swallowing everything, leaving only faint outlines in satellite images to tell of past glory. If the demise of the Garamonds was a long and tragic tragedy, then the next mystery of the Sahara is pointed to a sudden, incredibly powerful, world-shattering catastrophe. 1922. The famous archaeologist Howard Carter opened the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. He was blinded by the abundance of gold within the tomb. But among the many treasures, a pendant has puzzled gemologists to this day. This is the magnificent pectoral of the boy pharaoh. The center is inlaid with a scarab symbolizing rebirth. Initially, people thought it was carved from a rare quartz. But decades later, mineralogists conducted detailed chemical analysis. The results shocked everyone. It was a piece of extremely pure, transparent lemon yellow glass, Libyan desert glass. The key to the mystery lies not in its beauty, but in its origin. This glass could not have formed naturally. To melt ordinary Sahara sand into such a pure form required heating the temperature to nearly 2000 degrees Celsius in an instant, with heating time of only a fraction of a second. Whether it was a forest fire, a volcanic eruption, or ancient human bonfires, none could reach this temperature. Even the temperature of volcanic lava is nearly half of it. Thus the theory of ancient nuclear war emerged. People cited ancient texts, claiming it was the mark left by divine weapons melting rocks. The Sahara also became a testing ground for aliens in people's imaginations. But scientists found a more realistic yet equally terrifying answer. They began to search the desert for traces of impact craters. The logic was simple. If this glass was formed by a meteorite impact on Earth, then a giant crater must have been left behind. They searched every inch of the Libyan desert meticulously, but could not find a giant crater that would cover 1,000 square kilometers of glass fragments. Until physicists input the relevant data into a supercomputer to simulate the entire process of celestial impact, a terrifying image slowly emerged. About 29 million years ago, an asteroid entered the Sahara sky, but did not directly hit the ground. Due to the immense air resistance generated by its high speed, it exploded violently in midair. At an altitude of only a few kilometers above the surface, the power of this airburst was enough to make the Hiroshima atomic bomb seem like child's play. At the moment of the explosion, a second sun seemed to appear in the sky. The giant fireball released a destructive heatwave, striking the desert like a giant hammer. Without touching the ground, it instantly melted the surface sand. Within a radius of hundreds of kilometers, the sand turned into a flowing river of liquid glass, which gradually shattered upon cooling, covering this desert with precious glass fragments. Thousands of years later, the pharaoh's subjects found these fragments, believing them to be solidified rays of the sun god Ra. In a sense, they were not wrong. The Sahara, seemingly a barren land of death, hides beneath its silent surface a resource more precious than gold today. This is the most core and important secret of this desert. In the mid-20th century, geologists drilled in the Sahara Desert in search of oil, but they did not strike the black gold they dreamed of. Instead, from the drill well gushed clear, cool freshwater. At first, no one believed that there could be freshwater in the driest place on Earth. The truth was finally revealed. Hundreds of meters below the Sahara's sand lies a vast Nubian aquifer. This is not a simple underground river or lake. A vast Nubian aquifer is hidden. This is not a simple underground river or lake, but a real underground ocean. Its water storage capacity reaches 2.5 million cubic kilometers. Perhaps this number is too abstract. You'll understand if I put it another way. If all this water were pumped out, it would be enough to submerge the entire territories of Germany, France, and Spain. This is a precious legacy from the Green Sahara period. Tropical rainwater from hundreds of millions of years ago, seeping into the sand and soil drop by drop, sealed by the rocks underground, accumulated over the years, becoming the underground ocean of today. This is water that dinosaurs once drank, water that witnessed the earth in its youth. Africa's most precious treasure. Former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi called this discovery the eighth wonder of the world, and launched the grandest and most ambitious project in African history, the Great Man-Made River Project. Just imagine. Pipes so wide that trucks can pass freely, stretching for thousands of kilometers across the desert, like the Earth's arteries, continuously pumping the blood of this underground ocean. Fresh water from beneath the Sahara, flowing through the pipes to coastal cities, turning barren deserts into vibrant gardens, nurturing millions of lives and proving to the world that humanity possesses the power to contend with nature. But this hopeful fairy tale has a dark ending. The Nubian aquifer is a non-renewable resource. Nowadays, there is no longer enough rainfall to replenish its water supply. Scientists argue endlessly. Some say it can last another 100 years, while others believe it can last 500 years. But the fact remains unchanged. Once this water is depleted, it will be gone forever with no possibility of recovery. The Sahara generously gave humanity water, but never as a free gift. This history is now repeating the tragedy of the Garamontes. We always think water is inexhaustible, but forget that all resources will eventually run out. Our journey of exploration began with a prejudice: the Sahara is an empty desert. But now we finally understand that this was merely humanity's most absurd illusion. The Sahara is like a time mille-feuille cake layered upon layered. Peel back the surface sand and you'll find lost cities and ancient technologies that we cannot replicate today. Digging further down is a green grassland dotted with giraffes and ancient peoples who lived there peacefully, unaware that their Eden was about to be scorched. Even deeper is an ancient seabed covered with whale skeletons, telling tales of the cycle of oceans and deserts. Drilling to the deepest part of the earth, you can find that freshwater underground waiting for us for millennia. Witnessing the vicissitudes of the earth, the Sahara with its past teaches us an eternal truth: stability is always just an illusion. Climate changes, geography changes, life changes too. Everything in the world is temporary. The desert that seems invincible today may become a sea of blue waves tomorrow. And our bustling metropolises today may be buried by sand in 10,000 years, leaving only strange glass shards and plastic fragments for future generations as clues to explore our past. The earth is like a giant stage, constantly changing its scenery, and we are merely fleeting spectators in this grand performance, relying on the residual clues to try and understand the plot of the past. Thank you for joining me, Old Ma, on this journey of exploration. Good night.